Today, let's talk about this invisible force that's changing how our tests get graded and how our language skills are even measured. It's happening quietly, it's happening super fast, and yeah, it's called the Robograder.
Think about it for a second. You finish an online language quiz or maybe a big standardized test, you hit that submit button, and bam! Sometimes you get a score back almost instantly. How on earth is that even possible?
Well, the secret behind all that speed, it's not a room full of teachers chugging coffee. Nope. A lot of the time, it's a pretty sophisticated algorithm, basically an automated scoring system that's doing all the work.
So, okay, let's dive into this. What exactly is this technology and how does it actually work? Welcome to the world of computer-based scoring.
At its core, computer-based scoring is just using these digital systems to analyze language. Think of it this way. The system gets trained on thousands, maybe tens of thousands of human-graded essays or speeches, so it can learn what a good answer looks like. But as we're about to see, what a computer thinks is good isn't always the full picture. This is definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. In fact, there are really three main ways this tech is used. It's a whole spectrum, really, from computers just kind of helping out to computers completely taking over the grading process.
And what's really interesting here is just how different these two ends of the spectrum are. So on the left, you've got human scoring. The computer is basically just an assistant. It organizes the tests, it does the math, but a person, a human, makes the final judgment call. Now on the right, with fully automated scoring, the algorithm itself is what analyzes the language and spits out the score. The whole goal is to perfectly copy the decision a human expert would make. And right in the middle, you've got this hybrid model, which tries to give us the best of both worlds. The algorithm does most of the heavy lifting, right? It scores the vast majority of responses automatically. But the really tricky ones, the borderland cases, the unusual answers, or the super high-stakes tests, those get kicked over to a human expert for a final look. It's all about finding that balance between machine efficiency and human nuance. So, when we say an algorithm analyzes your writing or speaking, what does that actually mean? What is it really looking for?
Well, for writing, the computer is all about those measurable features. It's not reading for meaning in the way we do. It's scanning for data. How long is your text? How complex are your sentences? How sophisticated is your vocabulary? It's also checking for grammar patterns and how you use transition words to see if your ideas are connected logically.
And for speaking, it's a very similar idea. The algorithm isn't listening for the emotional power of your speech. It's measuring things like how fast you talk, how often you pause and for how long, your pronunciation, and just your raw word count. Notice a theme here? It is all about data that can be counted and measured. And this brings us right to the heart of the whole debate around robograders. It's this classic trade-off, really, between the incredible speed and efficiency of machines and the deep contextual understanding that, at least so far, is uniquely human. This is the big question, isn't it? The one everyone asks. Is this new way of grading actually an improvement on the old way? Well, the answer is it's complicated. The arguments for it are pretty powerful. First up, consistency. An algorithm never gets tired, it never has a bad day. It scores the first test and the 10,000th test in exactly the same way. Plus, you get that instant feedback, it's way cheaper to run at a huge scale, and honestly, it might be the only way to manage exams with millions and millions of test takers. And this is a big but, the downsides are just as significant. An algorithm can check your grammar, sure, but it can't tell if your argument is absolutely brilliant or just complete nonsense. It has no idea how to detect creativity, sarcasm, or humor. It totally misses things like conversational skills, and it can even have biases against certain accents or writing styles that it wasn't trained on.
And that brings us to this crucial point. Reliability does not guarantee validity. Just because a machine gives the exact same score for the exact same performance every single time, that's reliability. It doesn't automatically mean that score is actually measuring the right thing, and that's validity.
This leads to what experts call the biggest risk, construct underrepresentation. Now, that's a fancy term for a really simple but kind of dangerous idea. If a test is supposed to measure your overall writing ability, but the Robograder is only scoring surface-level stuff, like grammar and sentence length, while completely ignoring your creativity and critical thinking, well then, it's not a valid test. It's giving you a really incomplete picture of your skills. So where does all this leave the human expert? Is the teacher or the professional rater heading towards obsolescence?
Not at all, actually. What most experts agree on is that this technology fundamentally changes the role of the human rater, but it doesn't replace it. It's all about evolution, not elimination. And this is exactly why. Humans are still absolutely essential to this whole process. I mean, someone has to train the AI models in the first place. Someone has to be the final judge on those tricky, high-stakes cases. And maybe, most critically, a person has to be there for quality control, to step in when the algorithm gets totally stumped by something it's never seen before, like pure, unadulterated creativity. And that leaves us with this one big question to think about. As these AI systems get smarter and smarter, we're really being forced to ask what we truly value in assessment. Is the ultimate goal flawless, data-driven efficiency? Or is there still an essential, maybe irreplaceable role for nuanced and, yes, sometimes flawed, human judgment? It's a question we're all going to have to answer.